So, Cenk Uygur went on Rising a couple days ago to hawk his book, which took him 3 years to write, by the way, because he first started promoting this book in 2020, and it went on pre-sale, even though he admitted he hadn't even written the book. So people were pre-ordering a book that wasn't even written, and it took 3 years before he finally got around to releasing the book. So, Cenk Uygur is nothing but a grifter and just a scumbag and a general scumbag. So he went on Rising a couple days ago, and he decided to melt down at the end over Force the Vote, Jimmy Dore, etc., etc. Like Jimmy Dore lives rent free in this man's head. Anyways, he went on. There's a couple of clips out there I want to play. And because the interview itself is 30 minutes long, I have no interest in sitting here and watching Cenk Uygur for 30 minutes. So luckily, thanks to Neolib Tears, as you can see here, he clipped out, he or she, I don't know, clipped out a 2-minute clip. Cenk Uygur melting down over Force to Vote. Neolib Tears on Twitter, by the way, if you want to follow the account, which is a great account, by the way. It says, Cenk hates Force to Vote so much he can't help but misrepresent what happened, first saying that he opposed it because Medicare for All wouldn't have passed, then arguing the timing wasn't right. So let's do that. Let's check this out. It's about a 2-minute clip, and then I'll stop and react, whatever, like I usually do.
I formed the Justice Democrats to fight against corporate Democrats, and we defeated them. There's nothing more practical and more real than what I did there in that instance.
I mean, Cenk, I think specifically one of the moments that I remember of TYT being characterized as no longer capturing the spirit of the Justice Democrats or what the Justice Democrats were supposed to do was the moment around Force the Vote, where there was a push for the elected squad members to take an adversarial relationship to the Democratic Party and Nancy Pelosi specifically, to withhold their votes for them the same way that we've now seen the...
Alright, so he's already getting angry because he's like you can tell, he can't wait to talk so he can lie and do revisionist history about Force to Vote.
Freedom Caucus model with withholding their votes for Kevin McCarthy at the beginning of this year, really testing the theory of how that would work and getting in return a number of concessions that I think we can all acknowledge would be amazing for the left to have achieved. And at that time, despite there being a poll that TYT put out of its audience, where a majority of the TYT audience seemed to support Force the Vote,
you see what he did there? As soon as Brianna said, majority of TYT audience supported Force the Vote. He did that, like he rolled his eyes like he's some kind of teenager or child. It's just ridiculous. Well, let's continue.
Newscasters, the personalities on the show, were very much against it, and as I'm sure you can remember, that caused a significant rift down the left that persists in many ways. What do you say to that? I see you shaking your head.
He's a child. He's shaking his head. He's rolling his eyes. This man is in his mid-50s, acting like a child. Just embarrassing.
Yeah, it's crazy. But thank you for bringing it up because I'm happy to address.
Like, imagine me doing that. I'm on a show, whatever, and I'm fucking doing this and rolling my eyes like some kind of little girl instead of being a man, and answering these questions without embarrassing myself. But I'm making an ass out of myself like Cenk did here. But let's keep going.
Address it and try to clarify it the best I can. Guys, do I look like I don't want to force votes? Of course I do, right? And I tell every congressperson that's going into Congress for the first time, if they'll listen to me, I tell them, you have to create what the civil rights movement called good trouble. Now, that doesn't mean you go in wildly and flailing around doing impractical things, but it means you come up with a coordinated strategy, you then create good trouble, and then you put a spotlight on an issue where you are on the winning end of it, popularity-wise. So, for example, one of the things we did with Justice Democrats is as soon as AOC won, we did a sit-in in Nancy Pelosi's office.
Oh, wow, a sit-in. Am I supposed to be impressed by that? A sit-in? There's like one sit-in, by the way. What happened to the other sit-ins? Who knows? They never did another one again. Did one sit-in, they all virtue signaled, they all grandstanded, and then as soon as AOC got into power, all of a sudden, all that's gone. And the Young Turks just defended AOC for years. Even to this day, still defend her. So, yeah, I'm not impressed with one fucking sit-in. What a joke.
That put Green New Deal on the map. That put Sunrise Movement on the map. And
Did Green New Deal pass? Nope, not even close. But at least it put it on the map, whatever that means. Just pathetic.
a lot of ways, it reinforced Justice Democrats being on the map. I want you to take those kind of actions. But you have to actually use your mind and independent judgment as to which action to take. So force a vote. Jimmy comes to me. Back then, we're still friends and allies. And I go, oh, look, it sounds like a pretty good idea. Okay, I definitely want to.
La la la. Cenk Uygur is simply... Cenk Uygur was simply doing revisionist history, because by that point, Jimmy had left TYT. By that point, and when Jimmy came up before us to vote, Cenk was in favor of it. In this interview, he does revisionist history. I'm not going to watch the whole thing because I don't want to watch 30 minutes of Cenk Uygur, like I said. But he does revisionist history. He pretends that Jimmy was the one who started the fight, when it wasn't true. Cenk was initially in favor of forced to vote. He was like, oh, what a great idea, Jimmy. Let's work together on this. Anna was the one that started fighting with Jimmy, saying that, well, I mean, he's a grifter and he's a bad person and we shouldn't trust him and all this other crap. And that ended any cooperation between Jimmy Dore and TYT at that point. That was Anna who started this. It wasn't Jimmy. So he does revisionist history on that. Cenk Uygur continues to deny that. They denied the point that Kevin McCarthy would have become speaker, like he claims. Another thing he claimed in the interview, in which Kevin McCarthy could have become speaker. Here's the thing: Cenk Uygur himself had David Sirota went on TYT with Cenk Uygur, and Cenk Uygur had a pretty interesting admission. So let's go to that real quick. Neolib Tears, by the way, did this again, so follow a great account. Cenk, let me acknowledge my mistake. I said that they had to vote for McCarthy in order to really leverage, but that's not true, right? So Cenk admits here in this clip that Kevin McCarthy wouldn't have become speaker, but, of course, but he would proceed to continue with that claim even after David Sirota's TYT appearance, so... Let's check this out. Let's go back to the beginning.
Let me acknowledge my mistake in the middle of the question. I said that they'd have to vote for McCarthy in order to really have leverage, but that's not true, right, David? They could actually abstain. And what would happen if they abstain?
Well, the speaker is elected by the majority vote of the House.
So he acknowledged his mistake that McCarthy would become speaker if the squad abstained from voting. So he acknowledged a mistake, but he would continue to make that claim afterwards, even after this interview with Sirota. So this is what a dishonest hack Cenk Uygur really is. Let's keep going.
And essentially, they keep voting until there is a majority candidate. I think once on the first ballot, if they abstained, it would go to a second ballot and a third ballot, and on until there was a candidate who could get a majority. Now, I think the fear of Kevin McCarthy is a fear of the right wing of the Democratic Party. And look, I lived in Montana as one example. When the Democrats won the state legislature there, they won the state house, and there was a situation in which the state house ended up electing a Republican speaker of a Democratic house, because the right wing of the Democratic Party forged a coalition with a Republican speaker. So that's one probably remote possibility, but certainly, you could imagine a group of blue dogs potentially threatening to go to a conservative or even a quote unquote moderate Republican, if you believe that even exists. That's one remote possibility. You could have a different possibility where if progressives abstain, there's another Democratic candidate who could put their name in to run and agree to making that concession to the progressives to get their votes and try to forge a different coalition. So I think it's in some ways it's a crapshoot. And look, I think that does give those progressive legislators some leverage to say, our votes do not come for free. You have to make some policy concessions to us. Now, I want to say, I think they would have been in an even better position to do this in the caucus vote. What happens typically...
This is Sirota coming up with different scenarios what could or could not happen if the squad, decided to... hold their votes for Nancy Pelosi. By the way, no, they didn't. They all voted for Nancy Pelosi. Gladly, by the way. There was no what's what I'm looking for. There was no pushback. There was no wheeling and dealing. They eventually just voted for her and got nothing in return. So this is how pathetic the squad turned out to be. Fraud squad. Hashtag fraud squad for sure. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Cenk Uygur nothing but a liar. He's a grifter. He's a scumbag. He's going to do revisionist history, just like Trump. He hates Trump so much, but this man is just like Trump. I mean, he can't take responsibility for his mistakes, and even after he does, he continues to make those mistakes for months or even years after the interview with Sirota. So, he's a liar, scumbag, cheat, piece of shit, motherfucker. Well, that'll do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you give me a like. Make sure you subscribe. And make sure you give me a comment telling me what you think down below. And I'll see you in the next one.